Hi there. Welcome to New Tracks Modeling. New Tracks is an exciting new digital opportunity to obtain mentoring to help you improve your modeling. You will meet talented modelers and manufacturers from all over the world who share their model building skills and artistic advice. Improve your modeling and increase the confidence in your modeling efforts. Share your building efforts with fellow modelers and have some fun doing it. The shows are live on Zoom and YouTube, so be sure to join in and ask your questions. Now here is New Tracks founder and your host, Jim Kello, MMR.
Welcome. Merry Christmas. Hope you have a great holiday. We really appreciate you taking some time this time of the year to join us. Hope you'll come back often and hope you'll tell your friends about us. We only have one more show this year. It'll be after Christmas on December the 27th. And then we'll be going into 2024, which starts our 5th year of doing these weekly shows. And it starts the 7th year of doing the monthly magazine articles. I can't believe it's been that long. Seems like it started yesterday. And it's been so much fun doing everything. With that said, I'd like to start the show with Father Walters with the show's prayer. Father Walters.
Creator of the world, as modelers and makers, we appreciate the beauty of our world. We thank you for the vision and the artistry that you have given us. Continue to bless us with your creative spirit. Amen.
Father, we're so fortunate that you joined our show and so fortunate that you lead us in a prayer every show. We really do appreciate it and thank you so much. Now I'd like to show a video of the sponsor of this show, and that is Brennan's Model Railroading, owned by Dennis Brennan. So Phil, if we could run that video, please.
For over 25 years, Brennan's Model Railroading has been offering unique products for the O-scale market. Our flagship product, Brennan's Better Ballast, was an instant hit and continues to be the industry leader. Its prototypical size and natural color blend of real crushed granite make it the choice for discerning modelers. Since then, we've developed a complementary line of natural ground cover materials. Additionally, we offer craftsman kits that anyone can build with complete photographically illustrated instructions that assume you've never done this before. The Sonky Wanky Coffee Company is the latest and the 4th kit to be added to our ongoing and highly popular limited edition Ellison Tribute series. These kits take Ellison's scratch-built iconic structures to a new level with Dennis' spin. The idea being that if Frank were alive today, this is how we would build these models using modern methods and materials. Use the QR code to visit our website.
For all you younger people out there, the Ellison that he's referring to is Frank Ellison, who was a model railroader back in the 30s, 40s, even into the 50s. He was known as the father of model railroading. Every kid that I ever knew that ever heard about model railroading wanted a Frank Ellison layout or wanted to visit Frank in New Orleans to see his layout. So for Dennis to come forward and produce his kits with modern technology, I think is a real honor to Frank. And the kits that Dennis produces, if you have any memory of Frank, they really do bring forth that memory again of what Frank built originally in cardstock. Well, with that said, I want to introduce Bob Davidson to talk to us a little bit about our scholarship.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. I'm going to share my screen here because I think we've got some exciting news tonight. I hope everyone can, oops, wrong one. Play. There we go. Everybody can see that?
Yes,
as you know, back in September, we had a an offer from an anonymous donor with a $1,000 matching gift challenge, which would run from September when the offer was made until the end of the year, end of next week. And the challenge was if we could raise $1,000 in small, less than $80 donations, that anonymous donor would match those donations with a $1,000 gift. So I'm very, very pleased to announce tonight that we have reached that goal. We have surpassed raising $1,000 in small donations, and we will be able to take advantage of our anonymous donors' $1,000 match. So I just want to say a big thank you to all of those people that contributed small donations that made up that $1,000 matching gift. There's 26 people. I certainly want to thank Father Ron, who was the first person to come in and make a donation. And I want to thank Dylan Lambert, because Dylan was the one who put us over the top. So because of all your generosity, we will now be able to grant a $2,000 scholarship in the 2024-2025 academic year. So thank you to everyone for your support. This certainly is not the end of our campaign to raise money for the program. As a matter of fact, I'll be back next week to give you a full overview of what we've done in the past year and where we are looking to go in the coming years. So again, thanks to everyone for their support. Thanks to those 26 donors especially. There have been so many other folks who have donated to the scholarship, but it is such a great feeling that in really our first year as a nonprofit that we were able to reach a goal such as this. So again, thanks. I will stop the share and back to you, Jim.
Well, thanks so much, Bob. It's because of the leadership that you provided and your committee has provided, it's enabled us to do this. So thanks to everybody.
Yes, they're a great group.
Well, some of them are better than others. I have to say that. All right. Now we need another anonymous donor to make another donation. So if any, it doesn't have to be $1,000. It can be more or less. But we do need another challenger to come forward so that we can continue to have to match that challenge for the next level of scholarship that we're able to offer as a group. This isn't for Jim Kello. This is not for Bob Davidson. This is for the community of model railroaders. It's for the people who either read the articles, watch the shows, or do both. And we can't thank you enough for your generosity and for all your help. But we don't want to stop with where we are right now. We want this to continue to grow. We know a lot of you out there have not yet contributed, and we hope you'll consider doing something for the young model railroaders that are going to be coming along after us that need our help right now with trying to get their education completed. So thanks to everybody that has contributed, and thanks to all of you who are thinking about or will contribute in the future. Well, with that said, then I want to talk about a minute the email publication that we've come out with that we call Observations. And the editor of that is Martin Breckbiel, MMR. I don't know whether Martin has arrived yet or not tonight. Martin, are you here?
No.
Good.
I'm not
Martin.
here.
Good. Well, now that you're here, Martin, would you like to talk about this new publication that you're the editor of?
Only if I must. Okay. I'm working on the January issue. It's almost done. There's a few odds and ends that need to be tacked into it. It's up to a whopping 18 pages now, which I think is about 150% bigger than the first issue, which is pushing the levels of reality. But we could use a few submissions for February. So You don't need to write the great American novel. God help you if you do, because you'll be infamous in the future at some point in time. But, a page that includes a picture of something you've done, that's enough. Even a paragraph with a picture. We can feature everybody or anything. And it doesn't have to necessarily be a model necessarily, even if it's something neat that you just saw driving down the road in parallel on the tracks. Send it along. I'll find my email address and put it in the chat, and we'll start getting that lined up for February. Back to you, Jim.
Fantastic, Martin. I can't thank you enough for doing this. For all the O-scalers out there, you're familiar with Martin. Martin's edited O-scale magazines for as long as I know. For you that haven't been involved with O-scale before and not familiar with Martin, I think, has edited all his life. At least it seems to me to be a very, very long time. He's easy to work with. I can tell you that. And if you have an idea, just tell him what your idea is. Chances are he can help you in a few words, fill out what you want to say and get you started in the right direction. So this is an easy project. It's meant for you, the reader, the person who is viewing the shows. If you have something that you'd like to share with everybody, this is an opportunity to do it. You don't have to come on the show and do it in person and stutter or whatever you're concerned about speaking in public about. You can do it through the publication observation. That's one of the reasons we started it. We hope you enjoy reading it. To get your copy each month, you need to subscribe to our website, newtracksmodeling.com. Thanks again, Martin. I really do appreciate you taking the time to do this. We have a MyBuild tonight that Chris Coarse is going to be talking with us about shortly. And the one coming up is January the 17th. That show, we're going to try to get more time allocated starting in that show for the MyBuild. So this will give you an opportunity and plenty of time to try to figure out what you'd like to talk to us about for that January the 17th show. And we hope that we get enough people during 2024 each month to where we can have the whole show, the whole 2-hour show, be nothing but the MyBuild segment. That's what we're shooting for, and we hope we're going to be able to get there. Now, with that said, I want to run the video for the S-Scale modeling segment that's sponsored by the National Association of S-Gauge. And I really do appreciate this association's being the sponsor for this modeling segment of our shows. So Phil, if we could run that video.
S-scale or S-gauge is modeling in 1/64th scale and includes American Flyer, standard gauge, and narrow gauge. S-gauge, or 3/16 inch to the foot modeling, is often called the Goldilocks scale, an ideal combination of detail and scalability to model reasonable-sized areas. This combination makes S-scale both versatile and easy to work with. Ready-to-operate locomotives and rolling stock are available from a variety of vendors. There are also manufacturers of equipment, buildings, track, and details in kit form available for those who love to build. S-scale is the ideal scratch building scale, large enough for amazing detail, yet small enough for a layout. To learn more, visit the website of the National Association of S-Gaugers at nasg.org, where you will find the history of the scale, information about S-scale clubs in your area, current manufacturers, online groups, and resources to help you on your journey into the wonderful world of 1/64 scale model railroading.
Now, as everybody knows, Timothy Hubner is the host for these segments. Unfortunately, about an hour before the show went on tonight, I got this email from Timothy, and I want to take a minute to read it to you. Hey, Jim, I apologize, but I've had a situation come up I have to take care of. I have a really good, close family friend, Fall, and end up in the hospital in very bad shape. He has late stage lung cancer already, and they think today may be the day he passes. He's 50 years old, so I have to be there in case this is the day. So I'll be getting out of here and heading to the hospital in Tacoma. Again, I apologize. Well, Timothy, we wish you all the prayers we can possibly come up with for you and your friend. We're so sorry about his condition. We understand totally your need to be with him. And we wish both of you all the best, and you are in our prayers. So unfortunately, Timothy won't be with us this evening. I had sent an email to Jamie Bockwell, but I have not yet heard back from Jamie. So I don't have a fill-in for Timothy this evening. And I apologize for that, but it just, with an hour to get it, we just didn't get it. I'm sorry. So Timothy will be with us in January. He's already confirmed that, and that'll be the next time that we see him. Again, I want to thank so much the National Association of S-Gauge for sponsoring this segment. And I apologize that we won't be able to really talk about S-Scale tonight as I'd hoped that we could. With that said, let me move on to the next segment of our show. And this is the in-scale modeling segment that we could not do last week, frankly, because I made a mistake. I had forgotten that Clem Harris had sent us a video for that show. And when I called on him and he didn't answer, I forgot that we had the video. So I didn't ask for the video, so we forgot the video. So tonight, I want to rerun the sponsor for the in-scale segment, National Capital Trains. And then I want to, then we'll run Clem Harris's video that we were supposed to run last week, but I forgot to do it. So Phil, if we could run both of those videos, please.
National Capital Trains is the largest supplier of N-scale modeling products in the state of Virginia. We have been in business since 1989. We carry a full line of modeling products, specializing in N and HON3 scales. We carry a large selection of competitively priced high-quality N-scale products from Atlas, Bachmann, Digitrax, Intermountain, Cato, Microtrains, NCE, Pico, Rapido, Soundtrax, as well as Brass. For foreign railroad train aficionados, we offer a wide selection of Japanese and European prototype trains. We are located 20 miles from Washington, D.C. in Springfield, Virginia. We are a short 7-minute drive off Interstate 95. Stop in and see us for the best in N-scale. We also have online ordering on our website, including great prices and expert advice. Call us for your N-scale modeling needs and advice. Use the QR code to visit our website. We look forward to serving you.
You know, and one of the things that is curious to me is why I can see the why. But I'm curious to hear from you why you picked Afton Canyon for your layout and how you arrived, like, this is what I want to do. This is what I have to do. This is it. How did you choose Afton Canyon?
Well, really good question. And for me, it's decades in the making. You know, I think a lot of people model what they grew up with. So you see a lot of guys that are, you know, our age, roughly 40s, that are modeling like late 90s or whatever. And granted, I didn't go to this location until 2007, but so to make the point, this is decades in the making now, because I went to, well, when I had BLMA, I wanted to make a brass truss bridge. I knew that a factory that I was working with could do it, and Overland Models had done them, but they were far gone and you couldn't find them and they were very expensive. So I thought, okay, I want to do a truss bridge, but I need to find a good prototype. And it was always kind of, what prototype can I find that fits a lot of people, right? I don't want a pin-connected bridge that's for old steam engines only. I don't want the super modern truss bridge that's like, we have one over here in Southern California. They built 3 of them that look like they are so robust they can withstand 10 earthquakes. So I wanted something in between, right? I went to
Yeah.
Google Earth. This is 2006, 2007, and just followed the UP main line through the desert because I knew that somewhere out there had to be some type of truss bridges. So it's the LA&SL line between Barstow and Vegas, and I didn't have to go too far. I didn't even know it was Afton Canyon then, but from Google Earth saw these rectangular silver, truss patterns, and I thought, okay, well, there they are. And again, 2006, 2007. So it wasn't like Google Earth was like the satellite images weren't great, but got some friends, rallied them together. We went out there, measured them, and then these were the product that I made for BLMA when I had the company. So, BLMA was sold to Atlas in 2016, and I sat on these bridges for years and years and years. And it wasn't until basically December of 2020, I had been designing this layout. And again, it's at surface level, pretty self-explanatory, but under here, when you get into the helix, it starts to become quite wrapped around and kind of took a lot of like mental capacity to figure out like, hey, how's that going to clear this, but then not make the grade too steep and whatever.
Yeah, and I remember that when I visited with you, like I was hunched over looking in, making sure I didn't run into anything. I was like, oh, that's the last thing I want to do. Like, oh no, I tore up a bunch of Craig's trains.
Well, yeah, there's to that point, there's quite a bit of running underneath here, which again helps with the long trains I like to run and whatnot. But bottom line is, designed it in late 2019, and then COVID hit, and it was kind of like outside of running the business that I currently have. It was like, okay, well, at night, when the wife's asleep, and at that point the one baby was asleep, I'll work on the layout and just kind of put on a business book, build a layout, and I had the bridges sitting around forever, and that's what kind of made me go back to like, I can make Afton Canyon. I have the stuff to do it. Like, why not? I mean, I've got these 2 bridges for the canyon. Like, why not do it? And like I've kind of hinted at, the first time I went there, it's so colorful. They call it the Grand Canyon of the Mojave. And when you go there, you're like, I couldn't believe that I was in Southern California. It just felt so tranquil and beautiful, just peaceful. Until a train goes through, then it's not peaceful, But
right. And I'm kind of giggling here, knowing that this is a Union Pacific inspired layout, but you have a BNSF coal train stop.
Well, I'm not going to go grab it, but I have for some reason they do. I don't know. They don't have trackage rights, but there's quite a few BNSF over the years. I've seen photos of quite a few BNSF and coal trains going through. I think this one might go to Cushenberry down in Victorville area.
Okay.
Anyway, so yes, but and that's kind of the part of the hobby where it's like, we all kind of like, very rare do you see the person that's like, I model this date, this time period, this location, because the rest of us go, well, yeah, but I like the NSF SD70 Max and I want one in DPU on my train, so why not?
Absolutely. And that's one of the things how I'm kind of fudging my era for what I'm collecting and hope to eventually build myself, is that I'm kind of doing 2015-ish to now roughly. And just for the fact that I've found that as I've done a lot of my modeling, like the locomotives all wind up with PTC. So that puts me 2015 or later on for as wide of for as much implementation of PTC that my fleet has. So I understand the trying to get a window and get just right. You don't want to get too small and condense it down, and then you're stuck. But you want to be able to do what you want and truly enjoy the hobby.
Exactly, I agree.
So I've got kind of an oddball question for you. I want to pitch at you. What's your least favorite part of the hobby?
Oh man. Well, I think, on this side where I am now as a modeler, I don't have much to complain about. I think that there's some, I can think of minor things, right? Like on fully DCC, every engine has sound. I pretty much only have ESU lock sound equipped locomotives, but I have a few others, and here and there they do funny things. So DCC and its kind of gremlins and the amount of complexity is maybe something that is a little bit, something I think about. But I can tell you that in terms of like what I don't like, I can just say that I'm much happier to be on the modeling side of the hobby than on the business side. Because on the business side, it gets to be a lot, when you spend just a ton of time on a project, bring it out, maybe the factory messes up something, but you'll just get, bombarded on the forums or whatever. It becomes almost personal. And I think that that's kind of where this hobby, sometimes it's like, hey, wait, we have people trying to make a living. We may not always agree with what they do, or sometimes things are out of their control, timelines, not. But I think that that's kind of the only thing I can think of is from the business side, the amount of negativity sometimes you see online, but I think that's in any hobby.
Well, and that's interesting that you bring that up, because I know in the past few years, and I'll use Rapido as a prime example, they've actually had to hit some of the poor behavior from members of the hobby, and how members of the hobby have called up and interacted with their staff. They've actually had to get that out on social media and address those issues, and like, hey guys, we're people on the backside of this too.
Yeah.
And that's interesting that you bring that up. The complexities of DCC, and I'm in process of transitioning over to all ESU also.
Mm-hmm.
And the complexities of ESU, I love it. And I can do all the little weird things and get all the little, like the sound files adjusted so that you don't get that weird harmonic frequency.
Yep.
You have multiple the same prime.
Yeah.
I can do that kind of stuff, but I'm Gen X, and they say that we know computers. I mean, I'm doing good to get Zoom fired up and talk to you right now.
Yeah.
So I'm getting there. Yeah, you can teach an old dog new tricks, but sometimes he's a little slow to learn. So
yeah, I hear you on that. I don't even, you're way more advanced in DCC than I am. I can tell you that.
Well, I don't know about that yet. Having seen where you're at and what you're doing, and like talking about like speed matching and stuff.
Oh.
That one little thing in N scale. I mean, I kind of giggle. Model Railroader magazine had done a little. They're recycling some of their older articles right now, and one of the things that recently came up was like talking about N scale locomotives doing 213 miles an hour, and I'm kind of laughing at it. It's, the articles from 5 or 6, 7 years ago, and I'm like, hey guys, psst, you can speed match this stuff, right? You can slow it down.
I know.
Yeah, at least on my end with speed matching, I've tried to set 73 as a top speed, and again that goes back to prototype function, and then set a 50% speed of 36 miles an hour. And then down to speed step 1, about 2.5 miles an hour. Then doing that with different decoders, different models, and different gearing, it seems to have worked.
Nice. Yeah.
So anyways, the last question I've got for you, we don't have a whole ton of time left, but I wanted to ask you what your favorite part of the hobby was.
Well, I think that what I do love about this hobby is, well, first and foremost, the camaraderie, right? The friendships, meeting guys like yourself, and gosh, I mean, just, I think running BLMA, I got to meet a lot of people all over the country and all over the world. But I think that's first and foremost, because we're all, how can you explain this? How does this make any sense? I get people that come into the house and I'm like, hey, come check out the train room. In fact, I've been talking to contractors about building this extra building in the backyard to put the new train layout in. But I always walk them through here so they understand. And they're like, I had one guy, he was like speechless, and he's like, man, I wasn't expecting to see this today. And I'm like, well, here you go. So the fact that we all can kind of understand it is, we have that we're kindred spirits, as they say, right?
Yeah.
The second thing I would say is that there's a little bit of something for everybody, right? So to build a big layout, it's few and far between that there's a big layout that's built by one person, because you can be the DCC guy, you can be the wiring guy, you can be the scenery guy, but very few is somebody really good at everything. And even if you are really good at everything, I'd argue that you don't have the time to do it all. So that being said, to your point about DCC and like my capability, I'm terrible, man. Again, you're light years ahead of me, but I have a really good buddy who, with the working signals here on the layout, he got this all programmed for JMRI, and it's dialed in, but I didn't do that. He did that And I
Yeah.
think that's going back to, again, the friendships and the camaraderie that you meet just through the virtue that we all like this stuff.
Absolutely. And back to the point of earlier about how you served as an inspiration for me. I get a kick out of it every time I get a text from you and I see, oh wow, look at the nose of that engine. You get all the grab irons and the windshield wipers. And for as detail oriented as I am, that one thing is like, I look at that and my head explodes sometimes when I see those pictures. I'm like, holy crap, how did you do that?
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Well, we're very much, the same on that it's fun to do this stuff that, again, where else can you talk about anything? I mean, this hobby is so unique. It's fun to be able to do that.
Absolutely. Craig, I want to tell you, thank you from me personally for your time today, and thank you for everybody that'll see this. And I'm really looking forward to get this out, get this shared with everybody. For anybody that wants to follow Craig's layout and his progress, if you're on Facebook, it's Afton Canyon and N-Scale. And Craig provides periodic updates as to what he's doing in different projects and how all the different things, all the different little things he's doing with the layout. But again, Craig, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, Clem. Thank you so much, man. Always good to talk to you.
Absolutely.
Clem, thank you so very much. And I apologize to you for forgetting that I had this video last week. Thank you so much for the video and look forward to seeing you in January. Well, now I want to turn to Jeff Jordan. Jeff is kit bashing a station into a prototype station that he's been working on for a few weeks. And I think, Jeff, this is your last time?
No, actually, I have one more segment after this.
Oh, okay, fine. Thank you.
Okay. So we left off last week just about to install the roof. So this slide shows the roof installed, and there's several things of note here. First off, because I resized the gables, the tabs that were pre-cut in the kit for the roof no longer fit. So I had to cut them off, and I filled the gap so that when you shingle the roof, there wasn't a depression there. You can see in the front there how I filled in the roof overhang using the material that I had taken off of the back of the roof. The little blob there in the front, it's not a hole, that's just brown paint. I think a frequently overlooked issue is, what should the underside of your roof look like where the roof overhangs? And in this case, I decided to paint it a dark brown. And so that's just a little bit of the dark brown paint showing over on the roof surface. But the roof is glued in place there, a little bit of painter's tape holding the gable as the glue dries. Working on the roof, you needed to install a chimney. The kit came with a resin chimney, but it was quite tall. And after I painted it, I decided it was too tall to match the prototype and wanted to see if I could use it nevertheless. And it is 3 segments, a top, a middle, and a bottom. And so I cut out the middle segment and glued the top and the bottom together. You can see there on the right after I've trued up the cut and a little bit of super glue. And you've got a much shorter chimney. And in here, there it is in place, and you can see the photo in the background shows the prototype. And so I've positioned it, and the shortened chimney is much closer match to the prototype. You can see the roof now is shingled. The kit came with peel and stick shingles that just go on in stripes, matching the stripes on the roof. And so it's literally as simple as peeling each row, sticking it in place, and continuing on. And it also comes with some flat stock for the gable of the roof. You can see here that I've finished the painting of the structure itself with the oxide red and brown. And you can see that the seams where the roof was extended, where the building was extended, have basically disappeared. The roof, all the trim here is basically from the kit, just painted up, though I had to, as I showed you last week, make a little bit more trim to cover the extended side sections. Trim, that's really what sets this building off from the kit. The kit is very plain, whereas the prototype photo shows a variety of different kinds of trim on the structure. And so here I had to begin to scratch build bits and pieces of trim to match the prototype. So these are the roof brackets. They're made out of basswood that just scales out 3-inch by 3-inch square and just carefully cut and glued together. And then on the right, it's stuck to a paper plate with a little bit of painter's tape in preparation for painting. And so there's the finished brackets, painted the same brown, matches the trim of the structure, glued in place. And as you can see at the top there, there's also a little bit more trim copied from the prototype. Again, it's just the same 3x3 stock. Also, the kit did not include this trim that goes out on the edge of the roof, and it's really essential to match the prototype. Again, that's just a little scale lumber I had on hand that looked about right. Station sign, obviously, since this is the Middletown station, was critical. That was created with a word processor, just hunting for the font that I thought was the best approximation of the prototype photo, printed it, glued it to a little bit of backing, and super glued it in place. And there is one on the other end as well. Now, the really tricky detail, you remember in the prototype photograph, there's a snow guard on the edge of the roof. It was essential to add that snow guard. And here I decided to make that out of evergreen styrene, a material I'm really familiar with and comfortable with, and selected a very fine strip of evergreen styrene, cut it to the appropriate length, and then taped it down on my mat there, and then marked the separation right there. It's got brackets on every other mark. On the left is the little brackets, which are nothing more than the same material that was used for the snow guard, cut into first little squares, and then the little squares cut in half into little triangles, and then each one glued in place. Again, because it's evergreen styrene, you can use liquid plastic cement and weld them in place pretty quickly. So tweezers and a paintbrush, and you weld them in place. I put them in every other, but then I came back and added everyone on the mark. And then over there on the right is the paint booth. And the front is just some more trim that's standing there drying. But in the back, on top of the paper plate, is the snow guard, which has just been shot with a spray can of flat black paint and is drying before it goes into place on the roof. And so I think that's what I've got for you this week. And next week will be all the finishing details on the structure, all the little bits that I added to try and match the prototype picture with all the little details, and generally to wrap it up.
Anybody have any questions for Jeff? Jeff, that's really going to be an impressive model. It really is. You really are creating that prototype out of that kit, and I think you're doing a great job. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
All right, so now let's turn to Martin Breckbiel, MMR, who's going to be talking about the Scratch Builders Corner. So Martin, welcome back.
I think you left us for a minute.
Okay. let me go with Tom Farrell then, who is going to talk to us about the kit that he's building. It's going to be right behind the Scratchbuild John Allen engine house that he's been building for us for the last few shows. So Tom, welcome back. The engine house just turned out beautifully.
Thank you very much. I am quite honestly pleased that that one's completed. That was exercise in patience. You know,
Yep.
but it's right next to this one. So as most of you know, for the past 33 or 34 shows, who's counting? I normally scratch build, but I purchased this kit 2 years ago at a Al Judy show and in Harrisburg, and I had it spot in mind right next to this engine house, which was only in my mind at that point. So as you may recall from last week, I left this 12-inch gap between my engine house and this future tunnel. This is a shanty town. This is the outskirts of shanty town, and I wanted a engine maintenance repair facility here. And this is also a junction of standard gauge line that goes into this tunnel and off into the sunset, and then my narrow gauge. So this is the kit itself. It's by Foggy Mountain Models. Mark Shire, he's a friend of mine. He has a whole series of kits, and I urge you to take a look at those. They're pretty nice. I have to confess, when I opened this one up, I was sort of intimidated by the number of parts on this. But then when I got to building it, it was just so intuitive that it just went right together. You just can't think about all the number of parts and just have at it. I did it in less than a week. Now, I did kit bash this kit. I like to have all my models on this aircraft grade plywood. So I sketched out basically on this this plywood where the main structure would go. And then I proceeded to what I always do. I make a foundation out of 1/4-inch material. This is basswood. Looks like I have some poplar in there. Basically, I built up this foundation, which is about a 1/2 inch high, and runs the perimeter of the building. To be honest, I don't know how you would build this building without putting a perimeter on it, because there's a skirt that goes out around the perimeter of the building. The building consists of basically two old rail cars, is the concept. There's a close-up of the corners. I just like to make them flush. I use a square to make sure everything's parallel and perpendicular, and it's all super glued together. I did a test fit of the plywood and the location of the foundation just to be absolutely sure this would all work. There's my John Allen engine house. Looks like I do a little touch up there. And so it does fit well. That's 3 inches by 12 inches. This is the skirting that runs around the perimeter of the building. There's two, we'll call them porches on this thing. I used a square to draw in the line, and then I super glued the this wainscoting around. I wanted it to be square. And there's the basically the finished perimeter. Again, I just used the square to make sure I was on line. I had to cut these to fit, and just around I went. Now, I'm not entirely sure, but there was not enough material to do the entire perimeter. I don't know what the story is there, but I had the same material. You never get two pieces of wood to match, but since I was going to be painting this, I knew it would it would come out in the end. This is the back of it anyway. So I put my own material in the back here. This is the first rail car, which is going to be used in my case as a maintenance shed. The one thing that I noticed is it's a laser cut, and that's these burn marks. These burn marks work to my advantage because they really enhance the weathering, as you'll see later on. So I use the burn marks to my advantage. This is extremely fragile. I managed to break it. I broke both of them in the end. See how it's broken? It's very fragile because not only is there a scored, it's a scored material to simulate siding, wood siding. It's laser cut in very small cross section here. So I broke both of them just for good measure. But then I braced it, leading credence to my theory to brace the living hell out of everything. So I braced it, then I super glued it, then I sanded it flush. You can't even tell that it's been broken there. It's very strong now. So I braced the corners, I braced these edges. This is the second rail car, which is a refrigerator car. I did not break this one, but I did brace it. I braced this with 1/4 inch material, basswood. This door remains on in the model. So there are the two rail cars. They're shorty 40-foot box car on this side, modified. The little windows are cut in. And then a refrigerator car that's pretty much used as is. And I did make this addition here. I thought it would be neat to connect these two decks or porches. So I put this structure in place here, which is 2x6s, 4x4s. It's just going to be a mechanism to hold the decking that I'll later glue on, I think, in perhaps the next photo. Oh, this is the end where the end of the box car where there's a entryway. So I had to extend the foundation out and put wainscoting out around that. So now this has the trusses on it. And I put a wash of that stainless steel vinegar that I'm in love with now. I use that as a base coat. You can see the burn marks from the laser. They turned black after I put this vinegar steel mixture on here, which is perfect. It really enhanced the weathering, as you'll see. There's the vestibule in the end. It's an entryway. It's a handsome little model. That's what caught my eye a couple of years ago. And there's another view of it. And yet another view of the flooring. Goes together really rapidly. There's a close-up. I had to notch these. These came with the kit, these trusses. I had to notch these with a little tiny razor saw so that they would fit. This little overhang would go back to haunt me. I should have made that flush like this one and this one. If I ever had to build this again, I would cut that slope to fit these. They don't match. This is larger. This is larger than this. They should match, but they don't. Then I began painting it in Jason Jensen fashion. I took a acrylic paint, a white, just plain white, and a sponge, a very fine sponge, and I put the paint on a top of a plastic lid and then I put my sponge on the paint and just sponged it all around. I specifically didn't put the deck on because I knew I would get sloppy with this. And I did the same on the yellow. All my railroad structures on the layout feature yellow and green. It's the company colors for maintenance buildings. And the refrigerator cars just look cool in white, so I left that white. And here I began painting a brownish gray for the wainscoting. Again, this thing went together fairly quickly. And there it is with the decking. I just took 1x6 material and I stained it with a black gray wash. I cut it on my chopper and just super glued these on one at a time. So this is part of the kit bash is the fact that I added this and show you. The roofing material they supplied is cardboard. I typically don't like to work with cardboard, but I'm still out of 1/16 inch plywood. And I even made a trip to Lowe's or Menards, actually, one of my sources for that material. They didn't have any. I should have went to Hobby Lobby or Lowe's, but I just said, all right, I'll just use the cardboard. So first time for me with cardboard. There's looking down at it again. Now here's the other license I took. The kit did come with shingles, but I had ordered these Bar Mills Coastal Brown shakes originally for my John Allen engine house, but I used Monster Model Works HO scale shingles for that. So I had several packages of these, and I thought it would be neat to use them on this model. So when you do shingling like this, you just like conventional shingling, you put the first one on in reverse. That's important because if this was 180 degrees and this was the first layer, you would see the black here. You know, I painted this black to seal it with acrylic paint, but you always put on the first row reversed. These are the laser cut doors and windows. I just use this Tamiya deep green, same trim I used on the inside of the John Allen engine house. Now there's those shingles. I think they look pretty fair, you know, and see there's that reversed course. That's why it's important to put the first one on in reverse. And I sort of leaped here. These are those windows you just saw. This came with the kit. This is a stove stack, basically 3 pieces made out of plastic. This is I don't know what's going on here. I don't think that's on the original or finished model. This was just painted the chocolate brown and then chalked. This was painted flat black and then chalked up to simulate weathering. I just chalked everything. I shouldn't say chalk. I used pan pastels everywhere to weather it. That's the overall look. I'm not done with the refrigerator car yet. That's next. There's a better view of it. The original kit did not have this green trim. I added these 1x4s. I wanted this to have some sort of company look to it, so I wanted this yellow and green. So it would be instantly recognizable, at least to me, that it's one of the rustic, buff, and old Gothic maintenance buildings. There's the end.
Need some steps.
Yeah, I didn't put them on yet. It comes with steps, or you have to be an athlete and jump down or up. Yeah. No, I have steps. There'll be steps here and here. Not on there yet. There's the this corrugated metal material comes with the kit pre-cut to the correct width. You have to cut it to length. I painted the shiny silver, metal. I got out the poison paint, the Floquil Old Silver, and I painted it silver, let it dry, and then with a sponge and acrylic paint, I sponged on a rust color, and then I hit it with pan pastels. That's pretty much the finished surface. These are little plastic details that come with the kit. These were simply painted black, super glued on there, and then I went, after they were on there, I went with a Vallejo acrylic wash, pre-mixed rust, and I just rusted everything. And there's where it belongs, and there's the finished model. Sorry, not a lot of steps in there. These are just plastic details that come with the kit. They're just painted black and weathered and super glued on there. Same with these roof latches. But it fits the scene really nice. There's an engineer going to his locomotive. There's my engine house. Here's the ballasted O scale track. And there's the ballasted ON30 track and a little cinders in between. So that's the finished scene coming up. Next week, I intend to do the tunnel that you saw in the earlier photos on the right. So, and then this shanty town section should be finished. So that's what I've got for you this evening. Yeah.
Fantastic modeling. Very, very nice. Anybody have any questions for Tom?
That rusty roof is very effective. I really like that effect.
It was literally just 3 steps. Old silver, Floquil, a acrylic rust sponged on there in the best Jason Jensen fashion. And then the pan pastels are really 2 or 3 colors of those. And I mean, it went very rapidly. Either I'm getting very good at it or it's just very easy. But it came out really nice. Yeah, thank you.
Do you have problems with the kit, or did it fall together pretty good?
It was intimidating when I opened it up because it looked like there was 1,000 parts in this thing. And there were no photographs. The only photograph was the picture on the box. And when I just did the mindset that I'm building up 2 rail cars that sit on a foundation, and I didn't even look at the instructions after that. I just said, it's just all text, the instructions. And I just said, I don't need instructions. Who needs instructions? I'm building 2 rail cars that sit on a foundation. And that was my approach. And that's how it came together. You know, I didn't even use the instructions in the end. If you read the instructions, you probably get scared and put it back in the box.
Well, it looks great. Nice job. Thank you so much, Tom.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, if Mr. Breckbiel is back with us now, I'd like to introduce Martin, MMR, to you and have him conduct his scratch building corner. Martin, welcome.
I made it back, much to my own amazement. It's been a long day fighting with the phone company, and I lost. That's another hour or 2 story that you don't need. So tonight we start something new, a new project. And we've got 2 types of windows, some doors, and some leftover bagged up chimney pieces. That's where we'll start, just odds and ends. Stuff out of the shoebox of leftovers that or stuff I just forgot to put away. Or in the case of the horizontal sliding windows, I only have 6 of them, I think. This is a good excuse to get rid of them all. So I don't know why I have them. They probably came in a box of other stuff I bought. Came along for the ride, so they can go away. The best way I know to make things go away is to put them to work. Build something with them. Here's something, yes, my precious, a piece of 6-inch wide clapboard. Yeah, you don't buy this in the store or order it very easily, it seems. I used to get this from Kapler. In fact, I have pretty good stock of it still, but it's something I pull out reluctantly. But I thought, well, I should show people that you don't have to, there is wider stuff available than the standard 3-inch stuff that you get, or 2 3/4 inch, whatever it is, the standard stuff that comes in little plastic bags from Northeastern or Mount Albert. But you can get 6-inch. And at one point, Kapler would custom cut it to any way you want it. No idea what they do now. Okay, so that said, I made some doors. And I thought, well, these are large doors, actually. These are a good 7 or 8 feet tall. It's just 3x stock with some strip wood appended to the front of it that's overlaid. That's what holds all of it together. And some carpenter's glue and some weights and 4 doors. Now we're in real trouble because I have no plans. So Tom's safe. I don't even make instructions. We're making it up as we go along, right from the seat of our pants. So not quite sure where we're going to end up half the time. So we'll put this on here and say, well, that's where the 4 doors go. That's a big wall, and that's going to have to get cut down a little bit. And we need some openings, so we got to make some openings. Okay, that's what scalpels and utility knives are for, and steel straight edges. And a little bit of patience and a piece of oak plank underneath of it to keep your utility knife safe and from skipping out and cutting your thumb off, which I tried to do on Monday. Only partially succeeded. Most of it's still attached. Okay, so after you trim the top off, we open up for the 4 doors. 3/32 square stock all around the openings and on the ends. Those are the ends that we'll glue the sides onto, whatever the sides are going to be. These are pretty good size openings. There's a reason for those being pretty substantial posts around the doors. Eventually, we're going to make hinges, working hinges. So that'll be fun. I prematurely put the 1x stock overheads over the doors. I say prematurely because I'm sure I'll break these off at least once. They're delicate, and this is something that I would advise. If you're doing something like that, put it off too close to the end, because colorful language will definitely ensue when you break it off later. And I'm sure I will break these off at least once, if not twice. Okay, the back. This is something where I actually reinforced it because I didn't want to break the clapboard. So you're cutting close. You're cutting close to the edges, and it's with the grain. It'll snap right off, right here, every time. Particularly when you're cutting it with a big, heavy-handed utility knife. So a piece of whatever this is, 16th inch by whatever, or 32nd by whatever, just glued to the back with some carpenter's glue, prevents that from happening. It's a preemptive salvage before you break the daggone thing. So it's not necessary to straighten it out or worry about warpage. It's worried about breakage. So interceding in advance. I thought, well, we need an office. Well, I have no idea what size to make the office. Well, I do know. It can't be any taller than that front wall. And I'm going to call the door with the wall with the 4 doors, or big openings, the front wall. So the office walls can't be any higher than that. That'll look silly. And they probably should be a little bit shorter. And we have to have the railing run off the top, so they got to have a little bit of an angle to them. So some scrap clapboard, and it is scrap. You can see I glued a couple of pieces back together. I keep all the various types of clapboard and scribe siding and various plastic baggies and whenever possible, I pull them out and glue pieces back together and up to salvage and extend the use of everything I've bought, which could also equate to being painfully cheap. Okay, so we put some 3/32 on the sides, on the ends of the two sides. Cut some holes open for some doors and windows, the other windows, and test fit them, make sure they fit. And there's our office. Well, there's only three walls there, so it's going to be kind of curious how that works. It's going to be very airy on the fourth side. Glue it all up on the end joints to the 3/32. I use a little bit of goo, smear it around, take it apart, put some CA on it, stick it back together, get it right fast, because if you blink too many times, it's already set. And a bunch of, I think it's 3/16" balsa. I got a bundle of balsa wood for some reason that I don't know why, but it's great for putting on here as surfaces for gluing the roof down later, and for straightening things out. Those cross beams just keep things nice and stiff, so it doesn't move around on me. And we have an open space on the back. You can see it better maybe on this side. No window on that back side. And if I read what I wrote at the top, it says the fourth wall to come next week. So I guess I might be done. And I am. Surprise. I don't know what's in my slides necessarily, because I only made them maybe an hour ago, maybe two. And like I said, it's been a long, painful day fighting with the phone company. And I don't recommend it, because no matter what you do, you're going to lose. So if there's any further questions, go ahead.
Questions for Martin? Well, Martin, I hope that you don't have any more telephone fights tomorrow.
Well, I'll warn you right now, Jim, don't try and call me. My phone, my phone number is currently non-existent for the next day or two.
I understand.
Well, I'm glad you do, because I don't.
You don't live in Florida.
No, my mother-in-law does. So
I get it. Well, Martin, thank you so very much. Hope you feel better and don't have to deal with the phone company tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, now I want to turn to the MyBuild segment for the rest of the show. It's hosted by Chris Coarse. But before I turn it over to Chris, we want to play the video for our sponsor, which is Dan Daugherty and Amy Daugherty's two magazines, S-Scale Resource and O-Scale Resource.
Welcome to the world of scale, O and S railroading. We are your resource for all O and S scale modeling. Both our magazines are advertiser supported and free to read online, download as a PDF, or even print. All advertisers are hot linked to their website, so if you see something you like, just click. Please check out our websites for the current issues. All back issues available free for the O-Scale Resource and the S-Scale Resource magazines. And, if you are a manufacturer, distributor, or retail establishment, please contact us through our website for advertising opportunities.
And that one thing that was in that video where Dan says we're bringing modeling back into model railroading. That really appealed to me, because that's what NewTracks is all about. And that's one reason why I went to him to publish the articles when I first started writing them, going on 7 years ago. So thank you to Amy, and thank you for Dan Daugherty for putting up with me for that period of time. Now I want to turn it over to Chris Coarse for the MyBuild segment of our show. So Chris, welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. I'll get started here as soon as I can get the share screen up. And now. All right, come on. There we go. Okay, should have the share screen up. The title page there, MyBuild of tonight, of course, is featuring you. We're going to use a holiday theme this time around. Anything that you could somehow loosely drop into that would be is what we're after. We've got 5 participants tonight, and we will go ahead and get started. I'm your host, Chris Coarse. First up, we have Alex Belita. Are you up, Alex?
I am.
All right. Okay, so it looks like you've got 6 slides here.
Right. Well, thanks, Chris. Like many of you, whenever I think of Christmas, I think of snow, and there hasn't been any here in Maryland for a couple of years, and there's none on my HO layout. I do have a snowplow. I picked it up many years ago as a teenager when Ambroid models were still made and sold in hobby shops when they existed. And it was my first wooden car kit. I assembled most of the body, as you can see, but that's where I abandoned the project. I couldn't handle the part where you were supposed to take a crescent-shaped paper template to cut some really fragile scribed strip wood to form the 2 halves of the plow blade. And so the kit was stored away. Decades later, I think maybe it was 2 years ago, I decided to resurrect the model, which had been stored away with some other childhood train stuff. I needed a new approach to making that the front main plow blade, and rather than use strip wood, I had an empty soft metal tube of French hand cream. And you'll see it in the next slide, what I did. I cut it to shape, flattened it, and then I cut small pieces to fit in the space for the plow. And to cover the center where the 2 halves of the new metal blades met and rested on a solid wooden form, I cut yet another long, narrow piece from the metal tube, bent it in half, and glued it over the joint. You can show the next slide, please.
Oh, all right, there we go.
Yeah, there's a better view of how it looks. So, and we can go to the next one. The small irregularities in the metal gave it I thought, a well-used look. And so I painted the whole car Brunswick green. I added some rust bricks and gave it an overall weather-beaten look. In reassembling the model, I discovered the original cupola had fallen apart and was broken. And I had an old plastic caboose dating back to one of my first childhood model train sets, removed the cupola from that car, did some trimming, added window glazing, and installed it on top of the Ambroid plow. Next slide. I decided I needed a headlight on the top in front of the cupola, and I ordered a Cal-scale old-style steam loco headlight, painted it rust brown, and installed it. And the final touches, and you can show the next one, were applying decals for my fictional Eureka and South Pass Railroad in Nevada, and putting an arch bar truck that I got from Tahoe Model Works on the back in the visible rear truck position. Did some additional weathering with pan pastels, Doc O'Brien's powders, and black gallery glass, and put it in my layout's yard with a couple other MOW cars, and it's ready for a snowy new year if that ever happens again. And that's my build. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thanks. I know I've got a few of these that are in various stages that I've purchased, and I don't think I've done anything with them. But one of these days I'll get up the courage to try them.
Yeah,
so
takes a lot.
Yeah, because they are kind of intimidating. Are there any questions for Alex?
Well, I remember those old Ambroid kits. That was an Ambroid 15000, right?
Ooh.
Yes.
Got me there. It was called the B&M snowplow.
Yeah, and I tell you, they may be intimidating, but they were the most fun I've had in a long time. Every time one came out, I tried to buy it.
Yeah,
they were really outstanding models, I thought.
I love it.
Alex, was that just one of those light bulb moments when you looked at that tube and said, I can use that for my snowplow?
Yeah, I could use that metal for a lot of different things. I've used it for cow catcher type material. I've used it in roofing. It's a really, I have to use more of the hand cream in order to get the next tube in use.
I'll have to remember that. Thanks.
I remember when toothpaste came in a metal
Yep.
tube and split apart and rolled out many toothpaste tubes, but they've turned them into plastic now, and you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, this is I had noted before there used to be different kinds of stuff in tubes that were made of metal. And this is the only one I've found recently that still does that.
That's a super neat idea.
Yeah. Very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is Mike in Palm Bay, Florida.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to let you know that if you see the real thing, the Down East Scenic Railroad in Hancock, Maine, just recently took delivery of a, that snowplow, just like this. You can go to their website, downeastscenic.org, and see the real thing. It was trucked in from up in northern Maine by, CSX donated it to the Down East Scenic, and they trucked it in from their site up in northern Maine to Hancock, Maine. So anyway, just thought I'd pass that on.
Hey, thanks.
Hey,
Cool. All right. Any more questions for Alex? Well, thank you, Alex, and have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Same to you and everyone else on board tonight.
All righty. Next up, we have Martin once again. You up, Martin?
Oh, I guess. Why not?
Okay. All right. Looks like you've got 13 slides tonight.
Yeah, well, that's your fault.
Why? Put them all on there?
Yeah, put them all on. What the heck?
All right.
Hopefully,
Very good.
hopefully in order.
I hope so.
Oh, that's a hideous slide, isn't it? Okay.
Yeah, it's a little offset.
Yeah, that's okay. This is to stay with the snow moving removal theme. I built a Monson's snow spreader. Okay, so it says HON 30. Well, so what? I built an O scale one in full standard scale because I decided I want one of those. I have no reason why. I just decided I want one of those. So, there's plans in this article and there's plans in the Gazette somewhere. It's been published 2 or 3 times. So this is, as it turns out, one of the very rarities of my entire inventory of cars I've ever built. It actually has a real prototype. So let's go to the next slide. Yeah, so there's actually blades. They're brass, made up of 3 or 4 different pieces of brass, plus the hinge pieces. There's real hinges. These actually pivot on that post, and it's all soldered together. There's a curl in them, so I rolled these up on probably on a piece of dowel and soldered together. And if you go back to the plans someday, you'll see that the originals were made out of 3 or 4 pieces, and 2 straps across for the hinge and the anchor angle shaft. Next one. And this is the framework at the end. The car, lots of nut bolts and washers, but there's a lot of brass angles holding that together that have nut bolt and washer castings in it. And you can see at the top, there's a piece of brass that runs across the top. There's a piece of angle on each side. They have holes in them, and therefore that shaft for the pivot point, that's part of the hinge. Okay, next slide. Yeah, that's a better picture of the same thing. There you can see the holes at the top and bottom. Okay, so on to the next. And some truss rods that ran through the top to bottom. Always a fun thing to do, and some other brackets and pieces of brass here and there, holding it all together. And of course, probably some glue was involved. Sorry, I had to use glue. But lots of little pieces holding it together. Next. And you put the blades and put the pins in there, and they drop into place and they actually move back and forth. So now they're operational. I don't know, I felt like giving myself a good, healthy or unhealthy challenge. But they pivot back and forth. And let's go to the next slide. Different views, so you can see that they go back and forth. And the up at the top, those are actually, I think, 080 nuts that actually slid over. I guess I don't know what size brass wire that is. It's brass rod, actually, I guess at this point. It's a little heavier for wire in our modeling world. Okay, next slide. And some end pieces, lots of nut bolts and washers, and the standard stuff that I tend to add to a car. There's a full underbody under this thing, and all the Grant Line stake pockets and your air hose, and more nut bolts and washers, and more nuts, bolts, and washers, and more of them. And you can see that this that frame has actually got some brass pieces that actually wrap around it and secure it down to the car body. So it's actually bolted in place to the car body with some angles. Next slide. A little bit of painting and weathering later. A slight fast forward. Lots of rust and grime and more rust, and when in doubt, add more rust. And some big logs at each end for a little bit of weight. Want to move that snow off the side. So, and I don't know if you can see it very well. Well, we'll get to it. There's another slide where you can see it, I'm pretty sure. Okay, go ahead to the next one. Well, maybe you can't. But yeah, eventually you'll see there's actually some extra slots on there. Maybe it's in the next slide. I don't remember. It's been a while. Well, not really, but you can see the extra bolts and stuff that hold this all together. The bolts actually wrap around and are through the sides. Trucks from, I guess those are the Grass River caboose trucks. I just like the way they looked on this car. One more slide, I hope.
Yep.
No, that wasn't the one I was hoping for. But
There's
more
still a few
weathering.
more, I think.
What?
There's still a few more, I think.
I hope so, because I'm looking for one specific slide that really shows where you can really go overboard and have serious pain. Go ahead. Oh, there it is. Okay, so what holds these blades from out in place? Well, there's a piece of steel in the real car, but it's actually brass in this one. And I don't have a cursor to move on this, but coming out there, you can see there's two pieces, and there's a little pin that drops into the hole that's soldered to the bracket on the back of the blade. So those are actually removable, so you can fold it in, or you can open them up and drop the pins in, and that'll hold it in place. Yeah, like I said, an exercise in suffering and pain. So you have to get the bracket on the back of the blades at the right height, so it engages with the straight rod that comes out from the body, so you can drop a pin through it, like a Lincoln pin coupler, down through the holes and hold it all in place. And that may be the last one or not.
Yeah, it is.
Hooray! So this was something really I had a lot of fun with, because it really challenged me to not burn my hands too badly with the torch, get all the brass aligned properly, and actually at the end of the day have something with hinges that actually work and little pieces that hold it all together, and a functional model.
Yeah, it looks it actually looks pretty simple until you explain that the plows actually move and you could bolt them in place. Then that's the huge element of complexity there.
Yeah, the hinge, just having hinged parts was a pain, enough pain for most people, but actually have them, most people would have built it static, so it wouldn't have to be operated. They just glue everything together and stop, so it would look like this. That's the easy way out, but I decided to inflict as much pain as possible on myself so I could have it. You could have there's four little pins that actually come in and out of that, two on each blade and two on the center off the body that hold it together. A lot of fun.
Wow.
But yeah, there's the closest thing I have for snow removal equipment. I had a snowplow once upon a time, one of those old International big nasty old brass things, and I think I sold it off. So this is my snow. This is all I got for snow. But as Alex noted, we don't get any. So
It's a neat looking car. I've never seen one like that before.
yeah, well, that seems to be one of those things I specialize in.
Yep.
If it's something everybody else has seen, I'm already bored. I want to be challenged by something I've never seen before and say, "Oh, that's cool. Never thought of that."
Neat looking car.
Yep. There we go. Next victim.
Very cool. Are there any questions for Martin?
Yeah, Martin, I have a question. In one of the early slides, it looked like the blades were already in place on the hinges with the stays soldered in place, even back further. There. How did you get those through the holes? So
I had to take it apart.
So it's not all soldered together yet.
Oh, it was at this point. I had to take it apart.
Okay, just wondering.
Well, actually, that pin, I'm sorry, that top pin does not.
Ah.
The vertical pin that runs top and bottom, actually, it's soldered. It's actually soldered to that nut at the top.
Okay.
The angled piece is, the up and down piece is loose. So
Got it.
So it can actually be moved. So once it's dropped in, though, it's in.
All right. I thought this was all one piece and couldn't see how you got it through the holes.
Well,
but I know you can do magic sometimes.
My thaumaturgical skills are not what they used to be. But still fun. Still a fun exercise in assembling brass. Let's see. There's at least four pieces on the blade, and then there's two straps, and then on the back of the blade is the angle which hooks into the locking mechanism. So little hinges can be done. And these aren't even that little.
Yeah. Are there any more questions for Martin? All right. Fantastic as always, Martin. Thank you for sharing, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And all right. Thank you.
Cool.
Next up is Greg.
I'm ready.
All right. Looks like you got 14.
Okay.
I threw a couple extra in there on you.
Yes, I know. And
all right.
Okay, I'll explain to everyone. Originally, I was just going to show a little snow scene. And I sent them to Chris. And when I gave him the story of where this building came from, he thought that was a really interesting story and that I should share it. And I agree with him. So there's a few of you that might know a gentleman named Jim Koshin, who we lost in 2020, but he grew up here in Maryland along the Western Maryland line. And once he moved to Florida, he started a business called Medford Train and offered laser cut kits, most of them featuring Western Maryland structures. But this one was a store kit that he was offering. Next slide. Now, his kit was based on this store that was in Shaw, West Virginia. And I was a good friend with Jim at the time he was developing this kit. And there were many nights that he and I would just be on our phone with the speaker on. He'd be working on building his kits, developing them, and I'd be working on modeling something. And we were talking all the time that he was coming up with this kit. And that shows you the original store and the kit itself. And we can go to the next one. Well, how I got his kit was kind of roundabout, because the one that I used is the actual kit that he built for the prototype. And it came through a friend of mine, and he ended up giving it to me after he had gotten it from Jim. And when Chris offered this MyBuild for a snow scene, I thought, you know, that store would look perfect. I've never done anything with snow before, so let me give it a try. So I took the store and said, well, I'll just do a little diorama. The first thing I decided to do was to put icicles on the building. And I had seen people make icicles out of various products. So I tried Mod Podge and a Liquitex gloss gel, and I just spread it out like this and let it dry, let it cure. And then I cut off the little icicles. The Mod Podge worked better in my case. Next slide. And then I had some trees that I never put on my layout because they weren't really that good looking. I had bought them off eBay, but I thought they'd be perfect for this snow scene. So a little hairspray, and I had picked up a container of the Woodland Scenic Snow for this project. And now my trees were dusted in snow, and I let them dry. Next slide. So I built a little foam core base, and I tacked the building onto the base and then started putting on a little bit of scenery. The Christmas tree that I have there, I got from Mini Prints a couple of years ago, and it was very difficult to paint something that small, but it came out great, and I had it sitting around ever since then, and I thought it would be perfect for this. So I went ahead and I had put the icicles on the building, and I blocked off the building and sprayed the rest of it with the hairspray. I didn't want the building to have the snow stuck on it, but I wanted the snow stuck to everywhere else. And I put in toothpicks for the holes where the trees were going to go. Next slide. And so this was it after I had sprayed it and put the trees in place and then dusted it all with snow. So the snow is stuck everywhere except on the building, but it still sits there as long as I don't turn this thing upside down. And at this point, it was pretty much done, and I just had to try and take good pictures of it, which I'm not that good at, but you'll see how they came out. Next one. So this is my building with the not perfect icicles, but it kind of worked, and the snow scene. And I was pretty happy with how it came out. Next slide. And this was around back of the building. I had added the little workbench, and I liked the way that the red building stood out in the snow. Next one. This is along the side of the building. I had put down a path when I was doing the diorama of some brown gravel leading from one of the back doors. And then when I put down the snow, I let it cover that footpath, but for the front one that would be more heavily used, I went ahead and brushed it off of there so that it looked like it had been shoveled a little bit. Next one. This is another shot from the back. Some of the icicles turned out pretty good, and some of them didn't. Now, I've since seen somebody make icicles out of a kind of cream, and I'm going to try that next time. I think they actually looked a little bit better. These came out looking okay, but they don't have enough weight to really hang down. They kind of end up however you glued them on. Next one. And there's our little Mini Prints tree. This was one of the first things Bernard offered in his first year that he was doing Mini Prints. And it basically came as two pieces. You glue the base and the tree together, and then get out your finest paintbrush and paint the thing. But it was perfect for this diorama. Next one. And so that's how it came out. And I'm not going to keep it like this because it's actually quite big and I don't have enough room to store it. But by making the building so that the snow wasn't stuck to it, I can lift the building off and shake it off, and it'll be back to the way it was. The icicles will pull off easy enough. And then I'll just, I guess, take the trees and the base and recycle those and use them somehow somewhere else. Any more, Chris?
Yeah, I think you've got one more. Or maybe
Oh,
one more after that
yeah.
too.
There's another shot of it.
Yeah,
Um,
I think
it's a great little kit, and I'm sorry that Medford Trains isn't around anymore. Now, I had gotten this kit back when Jim first brought it out. He sent me a copy of it since we had been talking about it so much. He even put a little bit of an interior into this one that he built. But once I got this, I ended up selling the unbuilt kit that I had to another friend of mine who had always wanted one, but wasn't able to get one. I said, well, I have a built one now. I don't need this. You can have it. So, so that's the story.
Yeah, I remember seeing that at Timonium and going, oh, I'll get it one of these trips to Timonium, and yeah, it just never happened. But yeah, I'm glad you ended up with the pilot model. That's I really liked how the look of this kit, and especially the that red color that he used. That just made the whole scene, the whole thing that you did just really popped.
Well, what's interesting, he built a second pilot model where this was how I took pictures. He built a second one where he painted it kind of a cream color, and he made it sort of as a general store gas station. He put some pumps in front of it, and he did a real nice diorama of that one. I don't know where that model went, but I'm sure it's floating around somewhere, and somebody is very happy with it. This was my taking pictures outside.
If you look at the Medford Trains Facebook page, it's still up, and pictures of that cream version and this one are still on there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guess nobody shut it down. So
no, and unfortunately, he made a lot of kits, but there aren't many out there available anymore. I've still got a store of 4 or 5 of them that I have to build while I'm still here. So I hope I get to them. So anyway, thank you, Chris. That was my first attempt to do any kind of a snow scene, and it was a lot of fun. I was really happy about it. And I have to thank Chris. He was the one who suggested using the Woodland Scenic Snow when I was thinking of using baking soda or talcum powder or something. And this stuff came out great.
Yeah, I've actually that just you asking that question prompted me to show what I'm going to show here in a few minutes.
All right. Well, thank you, Chris, and Merry Christmas. Happy
Merry
holidays
Christmas
to everyone.
Greg. And does anybody have any questions for Greg before we move on? No, I can't get over the simple elegance of how nicely this kit and the whole scene came out. That's
I think it's gorgeous. Really is gorgeous.
Yeah, don't take it apart, Greg. Leave it the way it is.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't yet because I still like it. I have to find some place for it.
Yeah.
And not sneeze anywhere around it.
Yeah. All right. So that was I guess we'll call that the intro to what I'm going to show. It's basically the what I have here is the diorama that I built up to take photos with. I had some specific requirements, and I'll actually go in depth probably next month during the MyBuild. This thing, I built this in 2017. It's a little ragged around the edges. As you can see, there are some spots of things that need to be cleaned off, and the little trees are all beat up. But I figured that with Greg's question, it reminded me of this diorama that I built. The whole purpose of it was so that I could basically just present something completely different to take pictures with. And this actually works. If you take pictures at the right angles, you can do it in the middle of summer. In fact, the first time that I got it out, I did that, and I was editing the pictures and ended up with a shiver going up my spine because it was basically it enveloped you. It got you into that cold environment. But it's got a lot of different products, mostly woodland scenic stuff. One of the things I did was I actually wired the track so that you can hook up either DC or DCC, and you can have some lights on there, whether you've got lit cars or an engine. You can run them up and down the track a little bit there. Just showed the sides. And you can see I'd actually put up a mountain on purpose. So that's basically when you photograph outside, you can, where I live, there's trees all around. So I can basically hide the trees with the mountain. And here's some photos, and you'll see that there's some limitations with it. Granted, I'm just using a cell phone for these, but you can see, like on the top left photo, I was able to get a decent shot of the engine, but not really the cars. I guess that's probably about what you're looking for. And then I tried a little different focus for the second photo there. And then these are some other photos I've taken over time with that scene. You know, some of them are the Conowingo Models products. I've got the general store up there, and the Fallen Angel Tavern, just basically just a little couple little buildings on the way through town. I used it most recently with the Snow Beast in the lower left corner there. I was looking at that picture. I'm like, I wonder why I even took that, because it's I guess I was just getting a little eager, because if you notice, the LED headlight is sticking out of the top headlight, and the rear part of the roof isn't even glued down yet. But I think it gets my point across in that I shot that photo in the middle of the summertime. You can't even tell. It gets the point across that you're in the wintertime. And then the photo in the lower right has a few minor doctorations to it, that if I had taken a little bit of time and done a better job, it would have come out a lot better. Because you've got the original the Gray Street house with the wreath on the front window, and I think there's also a wreath on the door to the depot. Oh, and there's a little bit underneath the upper window on a depot also. And I've got a snow filter that I threw on there. So thing came out pretty neat. There is a lot of Woodland Scenics products in here. Most of what you're looking at is Woodland Scenics. The trussel, I actually made it so that the trussel has some track going into it, and that's so you can have a train coming out of it. Some of those are actual rocks. I built this mainly out the back door here, and there's a rock base that holds up the air conditioning unit, and the stupid rocks get everywhere. Well, I decided, you know what, I'll just do something with them. I glued them in place. So I kind of got my revenge on the rocks there. But some of them are rocks, some of them are Woodland Scenics pieces. Like this big top piece, I'm pretty sure is Woodland Scenics, and the one on the right side here is. A lot of this other stuff with the moss and weeds and foliage growing in it is those are actual rocks that I stuffed in place. A couple of other things. This is actually the last slide. So what I did manage to use some Woodland Scenics realistic water, and I had somebody at Timonium has occasionally sells molds for a pond, and I cut one out and dropped it in a place and painted it up and dropped some of that realistic water into it. And over time, after it hardened up, I painted it a little bit to make it look more like a frozen pond. And because it's been stored sideways, it caused a bulge. I actually cut a chunk of that bulge out about 6 months ago. And the bulge is still there, but you can't really tell where it was cut out. So if I do ever rejuvenate this diorama, then I'll have to fix that. But one of the things I did, and this was I used a product called Snowtex for part of it, but I found this snowflake snow. That's what Greg was asking about, and that's what what kind of prompted me to do this presentation tonight was one of the cool things about what I did with this is if you notice, you can see it a little bit in the upper left corner here. There's a lip. Whoops, sorry. There's a lip up here, and that's basically to hold the snow in. So you can put a building in there, you can cover it in snow, and then when you're done, you can brush it off, and then take the piece of tape off of here and drop it right back into the container of snow. You can see over on the right here that there is some snow that's covering up some of the tracks on the road. So it was meant to be versatile. Basically, it gives me an opportunity to recycle that snow, do some snow shots. But I don't know. I thought it was something neat that I did about 2017, I think is when I did it. And I don't know. There's some advantages to doing this, and there's some disadvantages, like that lip that I was just talking about in the upper left corner there that goes around. That presents some challenges when it comes to getting the angle of your camera down. So those are things that you need to think about if you should do something along these lines. All right, I've yapped long enough. Are there any questions?
It's not a question, but I think if you can find someplace to store that huge thing, I can probably find someplace to store my little one.
Yeah. Yep.
That was a neat idea, though, Chris. It really was, because you can do so much with it.
Yeah, that was the point, is I wanted to be able to do a bunch of different things with this. And I can set up a little village along the road.
Yeah.
I can do all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff. So pretty neat, I thought.
Very
Does need a
nice.
little bit of work, but
Very,
all
very
right.
nice.
So we'll move on. Leonard Davis, are you up, Leonard? Okay, I don't think he's up. But he sent us some photos of a Glorcraft models kit, some stuff that he's working on. This is an old kit. It's probably older than most of us, but looks like he did a pretty decent job of it. It looks like he's got a spot for it picked out that he's going to drop it in place on his, looks like a Western, like an Arizona themed layout.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, there's a Route 66 sign down in the corner there. So,
What scale is it, Chris?
I believe Glorcraft did just HO.
Oh, okay.
So if anybody knows any better, please let me know.
I know
They did N scale too.
They also
did
did.
they? Okay.
They also did O scale
O scale, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, particularly in freight cars. I know they did O scale.
and some structures.
Yeah.
Hmm.
They were neat kits, though.
Yeah, usually you can tell by the tracks, but I don't know what this track would. Anybody have an idea what scale it might be?
That looks like O scale.
Yeah.
Chris, could it
does.
say on the box by chance?
No, in fact, it didn't even have the kit name on there.
Oh, yeah, I see.
It would have been on the end.
Nice looking model.
Yeah, came out really nice.
Yeah.
Like this. Glad to see these old kits. Actually, we've had two of them on tonight that got pulled out and dusted off and finished up. So that's awesome.
Yeah,
Like to see the old stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for sharing. And if you're out there, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And all right, let's move on. The next MyBuild is January 17th. It is a free for all, so send us whatever you're working on. We're going to try to make this a longer show, try to do what we can to expand into making it a full show. So send me what you've got, and we'll be sure to show it. If you're not planning on being here, then please also include a description of what you're sending us. That way we can talk about it a little bit more intelligently than I was able to tonight. So. So please get your photos to me by January 14th. That way it gives me a little bit of time to put the slideshow together. And railrunner130@hotmail.com.
Oh boy.
All right. So upcoming challenges in February, there's oddities such as aliens, the UFO dealership, for example, that I've referenced that a lot. That I found pictures of that quite a while ago, and I thought it was just so cool. Steampunk, jackalope skull on some backwoods engine somewhere, non-prototypical trains, the press center flat cars, those sorts of things. And then in March, of course, we'll have just a regular show, free for all. And then in April, we'll move on to spring. Your scenery, flora, vegetations, something wild, flower boxes, vines, planting crops, basically your world awakening after winter. And I think that'll about do it for us. So I will turn it back over to you, Jim.
Well, thank you so much, Chris. I think you've got some great models that you showed us tonight. And I do hope that we have a lot more people that want to participate in January and each month next year, because we know that there's a lot of interest by the modelers in what they see on the MyBuilds. And that's why we're going to try to expand it into a whole show next month and see where we go from there. So, Chris, thank you so very much. You have a happy holiday. Merry Christmas.
Thanks. You too, Jim.
And with that said, now I just got an email from Jamie Bothwell, and he's on the show now, and offered to talk about S-Scale a little bit if we had time, and I think we do. So Jamie, let me turn it over to you, and I really appreciate you doing this.
Thanks, Jim. Yeah, glad to help out. Hey, I thought I would take a minute to talk about the S-Scale convention, which we're putting on again in Harrisburg this summer. It's going to be, starts on July 17th, I think, which is a Wednesday. So 17, 18, 19, 20, goes into like the evening of the 20th, if you were to stay for the banquet and everything. So let's see, we got a couple of interesting tours on tap so far. We're planning a tour to the Amish country to visit some of the Amish sites to see what goes on down there. And that'll include a lunch at an Amish restaurant and, family style restaurant, and then a little bit of shopping for the ladies. That would be the Wednesday tour. Thursday, we've got on tap, we're going to go to the Blue Mountain and Reading Railroad. We're going to leave out of Reading Outer Station. We've commandeered a couple of RDC cars. We're going to ride with private excursion. We're going to go up the Blue Mountain and Reading to their shops at Port Clinton, Pennsylvania, and then we're going to take a quick shop tour, take a look at their T1 484 steam locomotive and whatever else they happen to have in the shops that day. And then we're going to get back on the RDC cars and we're going to schlep off into the Pennsylvania coal regions and, do sort of an out and back tour. So it'll be an interesting ride. So, then, of course, Friday will be the vendor hall and clinics, and Saturday morning will be the vendor hall and more clinics. And then Saturday evening will be the banquet. So that's kind of what we've got going on. So, if you're interested, check out the NASG website, nasg.org. Really, I don't know, if it's been mentioned on this channel or not lately, at least, but, nasg.org, if you're at all curious, stop by nasg.org and you can get all kinds of information about S-Scale. There's basically our webmaster is amazing. He put out, there's essentially a product listing of about everything that's ever been made in S-Scale. And if you know anything that was made in S-Scale that he doesn't have, he'd be happy to know about, and he'll add it to the list. But there's all kinds of other information about, what's going on and where, like the convention information we're sort of slowly compiling. We're trying to get it together and get it on there. But there's information about past conventions and the people that are the officers of the organization and all sorts of stuff. So anyway, and then there's always a picture on there. Leads off with a picture, and if you look, there's pictures of mostly of S-Scale modeling. There's a couple of pictures of crazy S-Scalers standing around like me we went to a train show last year, and there was a somebody took a picture. So the whole gang that was at the train show, there was a picture of us there. But, mostly it just shows what people have been doing with S-scale modeling lately. So I highly recommend it if you want to see what's going on in the world of S. So.
Jamie, let me ask you a question. Do I have to belong to the association to go to the convention?
You can show up on a day pass if you're not a member, but if you want to go to the whole schmear, then you got to be a member. And membership's pretty reasonable. It's only, I think, $30 a year. So I'm a little out of touch with it because I got voted as a lifetime member a couple years ago. So I don't think they've raised the dues, but I don't know because I don't pay them anymore. So
anyway, they find out at the website, right?
Sorry, yeah.
They can find out by going to the website.
Yes. They go to the website, and you can join right on the website too. They take PayPal. They're all good to go. So you could sign up for the organization right there on the on the website. And if you sign up, you not only do you get to enter into the conventions every year, but you also get 6 issues of maybe it's 5 issues. Anyway, we put out a magazine several times a year. I think it's at least 5, maybe 6 times a year. We put out a magazine that's interesting, and I've got modeling articles and the whole works. So obviously focused on S-scale. So.
And my friend Dan Darty is the editor of that publication.
That's right. He is now. Yes, he is. So
Jamie, thanks so much for coming on.
Wait, there's somebody has put up the NASG website. There you go. Thank you very much. There's the homepage. Okay, so you see homepage photos, right? So whoever's there, can you scroll down a little bit on that? See, like that's the first picture right there. That's what you'll see, right? But then, if you look, these are the last few photos, right? So if you look, whoops. Okay, there's a product. Let's go back to the pictures. There you go. Scroll down. Okay, so there's a Pacific from my friend Andy Millette. There's a coal mine, and that guy lives out in Arizona, Bill Winans. That I think is, I forget his name. Oh no, that's Roger Knowlton's. Yeah, he's out in Washington State. This guy's got a neat little layout. It's just sort of a switching layout. That's Bill Lane's layout. He's in New Jersey. Keep going. Let's see. Okay, Grain Belt. That's the guy. That's okay. So and then this guy, he does a lot of 3D printing. Oh shoot, what the heck is his name? I forget. Anyway, scroll up a little more. So go see us photo. No, show us photo 9, please. Yeah, there you go. See, there's us at the train show. That was in Lindsay, Ontario last spring. So good thing caught it just in time. Another week or two, that one will be off the list because it'll be, they'll put something else on the top and that one will go off the bottom. So anyway.
Jamie, thanks so much for doing this on such short notice. I really
do. Oh yeah, no worries. Like I said, I'm advertising my convention, so that's good. So anyway. So yeah, if you're at all as curious, stop by.
Well, best of luck with it.
Thank you.
Do really well.
Thank you. I hope I'll get a few more plugs before we get to that date. So
absolutely,
anyway. All
absolutely. Right. And take some pictures because I think we'd love to see the convention, but we need somebody that's taking some pictures that we can show later on.
Well, I tried to take some videos a couple of years ago, and they just were the files are so unwieldy. I didn't know how to send them around. So.
Yeah,
I took some videos of a layout that was at the convention so people could see it, but it just I don't know. I'm not computer savvy enough to send video.
Talk to Phil. Phil can help you figure that out and get them to it.
All right.
Thanks.
Well, like I say, we'll definitely give you some coverage for this year. So
thanks so very much. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, that seems to be our show for this evening. Again, Merry Christmas to everybody. I hope you really enjoyed the show. Most importantly, I hope you learned something. And now, before we leave, we'd like to show you the caboose for this evening. Thanks again. See you next week. Have a happy Merry Christmas.